Hey guys, and welcome back to Mad About Skin. In today's video, we are talking all things Deciem, but more specifically, the recent announcement that they have been taken over by Estee Lauder companies. This has led to a lot of you guys reaching out to me concerned and worried about how this is going to impact some of our favourite brands that sit behind Deciem, such as The Ordinary, Hylamide, NIOD. So many of them feature in my everyday skincare routine, and I share your concerns, thoughts, and worries around it. So we're going to sit down, we're going to pick it apart, we're going to work out whether there's any justification for people calling for Deciem and The Ordinary to be cancelled, to be boycotted, or whether this is all just a premature reaction to something that's going to play out over a number of years. So sit back, relax, and let's talk a little bit more about Deciem. It's been impossible over the last 24 hours to avoid the news that Deciem have been bought out by Estee Lauder. This has been huge here on YouTube, also over on Instagram, Reddit, in the mainstream press. A lot of people are worried, a lot of people have questions, a lot of people want answers, and hopefully I'll be able to share them with you in this video today. I'm going to break this down by the four most common concerns that are expressed by you guys, which is that prices will rise as a result of it, that formulations and quality will dip, that we'll be paying into an unethical big multinational corporation every time that we buy from Deciem, and that Deciem will be forced to test on animals. Those are the four key concerns, and we're going to tackle them all in this video. If you want to jump to one in particular, I've left the timestamps below so you can cheat and cut to the one that's most interesting to you to get those answers quickly. So let's start with price rises. A lot of the time, and we've seen this before, when big multinational corporations get their grubby little hands on small indie brands, they then reformulate them, they repackage them, and they hike the price to justify it. This happened, I think, most prominently with Paula's Choice. I actually covered this in a video which I'll leave a link to up there, so check that out if you want to see the history behind that. Paula's Choice was a brand loved by everybody, got bought out, they then had a reformulation, they had a redesign, and the price just went up, up, and up, to the point where it's no longer accessible for most people. That's such a shame, and I hate to see that with brands. However, if you look at the individual brands which sit behind Estee Lauder companies, they own brands such as Clinique, Aveda Hair, Bumble and Bumble Hair Care, Origins is one of them. There's so many different brands that sit below them. Actually, they don't have a history of doing this and hiking the price. Doesn't mean that it won't happen with The Ordinary, and I really hope it won't, but it doesn't mean that it's naturally going to happen and it has to happen. I think The Ordinary has carved out a really good niche for themselves in the market for being super affordable single ingredient formulations which are justified. You know, they have a hype and it is justified. I think it would be a really bad move for Estee Lauder to then hike the price up because it loses its unique selling point. And I know these big companies succeed because they know what the unique selling point of their products are, so I can't see this happening. Whether it will happen with NIOD and Hylamide, which are the slightly higher price brands, we'll have to wait and see. But I would say to anyone concerned about this, sit tight, wait and see, and we'll see what happens over the next couple of years, because this takeover isn't happening tomorrow, it's happening over a period of time, and we'll just sit tight and we'll wait and see. But don't worry, I'll be the first to call it out if that price creep starts to happen. Second is that the quality of the formulations will decrease. Again, this is based on the fact that a lot of the times when these corporations take over these smaller companies, they do over time force reformulations to achieve cheaper price points which deliver more profits. We've seen this with some of the companies which L'Oreal has taken over, and it never leads to a better consumer experience or benefit for our skin. Again, taking it back to Estee Lauder companies, which is the one that's buying out Deciem, there hasn't actually been proof that this has taken place in any of their subsidiary companies. Again, it doesn't mean it won't happen in this case, and it's something we need to be mindful of, but it hasn't happened time and time again like it has with some other multinational buyouts. If you look at Clinique, which is a really good example of a brand that sits behind Estee Lauder, they actually have seen an increase in the range of products. They took quite a stale brand, and actually rather than reformulating their other products, they kept them the same, but then introduced some new ones to sit alongside it, such as their multi-purpose moisturizers, where you put the tool in the moisturizer and it pumps according to your skin's needs. That one, I haven't actually purchased it because I don't purchase from Clinique, but it's innovative, it's something new, and it's something which people seem to be enjoying. So I don't think we always have to see these buyouts as a negative. I can actually see a bit of a positive here in that one of the main reasons I think people get frustrated with NIOD and The Ordinary in particular is because a lot of their products are out of stock. You find them, you will love them, you fangirl over them, and your skin is transformed by them. You come to repurchase and they're out of stock. And they're out of stock for months on end. This is something which is particularly problematic for smaller brands that just don't have the manufacturing scale. Hopefully the investment by Estee Lauder will allow that manufacturing scale to increase, and so hopefully we should see a lot of these products actually be in stock more frequently so we can get our hands on them. And that's got to be a good thing, because that's a real customer concern with purchasing from Deciem. But, and this is a huge but, I do think we need to be mindful to the Deciem brand owner who's no longer with us, his ethos and what he wanted his products to be, which were the most affordable price point for high quality formulations built with integrity. That's the reason I love Deciem, and I want to see that maintained. I'm confident that with the separate management structure, which Deciem will still have, that they can still maintain this differentiation and this niche in the market. But again, the proof of the pudding will be in time. We need to see this, and so this isn't a reason to stop purchasing from them now, but it is something I will be mindful of in the future. And do not worry, I'll call it out if I start seeing that quality slip and some unnecessary product launches that aren't adding anything to our lives and to our skincare. I'll be the first to call it out and read them for it, and this is when we might need to reevaluate things. Now, coming on to the third and fourth, which I think are the two most significant points. The third one is the ethics of the Estee Lauder company themselves. A lot of people have been calling for boycotts of Deciem based on the fact that there's an ongoing boycott against Estee Lauder. Now, I did a bit of digging into this. A lot of people hear boycott and they think, must be bad, don't want anything to do with it. And they don't actually read what the boycott's about, where it started, who are the organisations behind it. Boycotts in their nature are political, and so you have to kind of agree with the politics of the people promoting the boycott to actually want to take part in it. The boycott that's happening against Estee Lauder is actually quite small scale in comparison to some of the other ones that are ongoing, and it centres around the Estee Lauder company's involvement and some of their shareholders and some of their board of director members' involvement with the state of Israel. So it all boils down to the Arab-Israeli conflict, concerns around Palestine, and how this all interacts. This isn't a politics channel. I actually did a degree in politics, but this isn't what this channel's all about. So I'm going to leave some links to that below so that you can read up and make your own judgment in your own time on that. For me, this isn't something that's going to lead to me to boycott Estee Lauder, let alone Deciem itself, so it's not going to have an impact on my purchasing decision. That doesn't mean that it shouldn't for you, and so I'm going to leave a link below to that so you can read up, you can read about the organisation that's promoting this, rather than just, I think some people have heard boycott, thought, right, I need to be a part of that, without understanding what sits behind it. We all have our different political persuasions, our different motives, and our own belief system, and we need to make sure that marries up before we start deciding to boycott anything. I'm left all links, read them, digest them, work out whether this is something that's right for you, because that will ultimately feed into whether you want to continue to support Deciem. Now, fourth, and this is the most important for me, is animal testing. So Deciem is an animal testing free company, cruelty free to their core. They made the decision, which I fully applaud, to not sell into mainland China, forego all that profit that comes from the huge economy that is China, so that they didn't have to test on animals. For those of you that don't know, if you want to access the Chinese market, the authorities in China demand that you test your products on animals to prove they're safe. This is so backward and so ridiculous because actually, time and time again, studies have shown animal testing is one of the least effective ways of proving safety of a product. It's outdated and it needs to stop. However, companies often say, we don't test on animals ourselves, but we do pay the Chinese authorities to test our products on our behalf so we can access that market. That to me is not cruelty free, that's cruelty by the back door. Deciem I love because they said, no, we are putting our ethics before our profits and we will not sell into China while that law is in place. That law is changing over the next year, so that'll mean more companies can call themselves cruelty-free, which is fantastic. And again, saving so many lives of animals, which I'm fully on board with. But I always love Deciem for their stance. Estee Lauder, as a corporation, do not test on animals themselves, but do sell under some of their brands into mainland China. They clearly have decided that it's absolutely fine to sell into mainland China, as long as they're not testing themselves, they can call themselves cruelty-free, and that they can then pay Chinese authorities to test on their behalf. If you look on their website, they're quite clear about this. They say, we do not test on animals ourselves, but, and in the exception of where it's mandated by law, which is the reference to China. So I would say, ultimately, whilst I said before that the Deciem brands themselves will have a separate management structure, will sit as a subsidiary under Estee Lauder itself, anything you buy from there will have a profit attached to it, and that profit will feed up into the pockets of Estee Lauder. For me, I'm confident that Estee Lauder have issued a statement, as have Deciem, saying that there will be no change to their cruelty-free status, they're not going to start selling into China to make extra money, and they will remain a cruelty-free brand. That, for me, is enough. Whilst I appreciate some people will have doubt and not want to purchase from them because of that profit leading up to the pockets of Estee Lauder itself, a brand which will allow animal testing, for me, I just want the assurance that the products I'm using have never come into contact with an animal for a testing purpose. That will still be the case with all the Deciem brands, which is why I have made my own decision to continue to purchase from them. You may have a totally different stance on this, and I appreciate you and support it to the hilt. I'd love for you to share your thoughts and feelings in general in the comments below. I know that animal testing isn't the primary motivating concern when you're purchasing skincare for everybody. That is up to the individual. We all have our own motivations and they're all equally as valid as one another's. So no judgment, and I don't want anyone to be calling that out in the thing. We are all personal, we're all human beings that have our own decisions. I'm going to continue to purchase from them, but I'm going to keep a close eye on whether they do start selling to China, because the second they do and they breach that, gone. Never again. You get one chance, never again on that. And I will obviously update you guys with that as we proceed. So there you have it, guys. My rundown on Deciem and the future of the brand. Forget the cancel, forget the boycott. All of this is just hyperbole and people shouting off from the start. Actually, you need to sit down and work out what's right for you as the individual. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but you know what? We all have our individual ethics, values, and motivational concerns when it comes to purchasing a skincare product, and that's unique to you. So hopefully this video has helped you explore that a little bit further. There is no judgment, absolutely zero judgment. I'd love for you to leave your thoughts and feelings in the comment below. Let's share it in a respectful way, because like I say, no one's opinion is more or less valid than anybody else's. It's all just about doing what's right for us as the consumer. If you choose not to continue to purchase from Deciem, I hear you, I understand. I'm going to continue to use the brand and their products that sit below it until anything comes to light, which means I want to stop, and I'll inform you as soon as that happens. But if you don't want to purchase from Deciem, there's so many other amazing independently owned brands out there. You've got the Inculist, which I did a full review on. I'll link that there. Check that out. Fall in love with them. They're a great option. Equally, Geek and Gorgeous. I have discovered those last year, and they are such a great cruelty-free, ethical, fantastic brand. Again, did a review which I'll link there. You can explore so many of these brands. The great thing we have in 2021 is so many brands to choose from. If you think back 10 years ago, we had literally like 4 or 5 core brands, and that was it. They were all a bit shady, a bit dodgy, and we had no choice. Now, if you don't want to purchase from a brand and they don't fit your moral code, walk away. Spend your hard-earned coin on another brand, and I fully recommend you check out some of those other brands if something about Deciem is no longer sitting well with you. In my future videos, I'm going to commit to always giving alternatives to Deciem for those of you that want to look for an alternative. I love consumer choice, so it's all about sharing the great options so that we're not fixated on one particular brand. And wherever you are in the world, guys, I hope you're staying safe and well, and this has given you a little bit of clarity. Take care. Bye.